Hello and welcome in again to another episode of Rolling with My Special Friends. Today is a special treat for you guys out there. We got a two-time Para-Olympian gold medalist. Mr. Brian, how are you today, sir?
Great. How you doing, Joe?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. Now, this is something special to me because I really love talking to the athletes and finding out the things they go through and just how in the world you got to get to a place of having two gold medals. So kind of get us started a little bit in the world of you as a child. I mean, tell us, were there dreams then of being a great athlete?
I would definitely say as a kid, you want to be, you see your idols in sports, football, basketball, and such, and you always want to aspire to be that next great athlete. So I definitely watched a lot of athletes when I was growing up and wanted to be, that athlete coming up the next generation. So I was loving basketball and football growing up. So that was kind of my two favorite sports. But I tried all sports, baseball, soccer, a bunch of different things, but just fell in love with football and basketball growing up as a kid. And yeah, just being a part of a single parent home, I was just trying to get into different activities to kind of keep busy, make sure my mom is not stressed about what we're doing when she's working and what we're going to school and such. So, but yeah, I just fell in love with both those two, football and basketball, and I tried them both um, before I got injured.
Now you brought up mom, being in a single home there or a tough situation. How was that having that support there? Was she just all on top of everything?
Yeah, she was amazing. She did so much. You never can tell like when she was like really extremely tired. She's always had a ton of energy, willing to do anything and everything for us as much as she could do at the time. I know when we were younger, our grandma actually lived with us as well, so that kind of helped us out as well. With my mom being gone working a lot, having like an adult figure. So my grandma living with us at the early years was kind of like a second mom while my mom was working.
So when you came through the childhood part of it, kind of take us into people, are wanting to know what got you into this situation. Was there an injury or an accident that caused you to be an amputee?
Yeah, so how I got injured was I was basically one day, I'm pretty sure it was like a weekend. I was just being a bored kid. A bunch of my friends came over to my house, asked if they wanted to go visit another friend who lived across train tracks. And then around my neighborhood, we're literally surrounded by train tracks. You can't really leave my neighborhood without going over some type of train tracks. So to visit our friend, we had to go over some. So there was a train, of course, sitting on the train tracks, loading or unloading at the time. And being an impatient kid, I decided that I'm just gonna, climb the ladder, try to get to the other side. So it's basically what I did was once the train was stopped, I tried to climb the ladder, made it most of the way all the way to the other side, and then the train kind of jolted a little bit. It kind of threw me off balance as it was kind of gearing up to go, and I kind of fell off, kind of lost my balance a bit, and the kind of train just kind of run over my leg. Luckily, only one leg, and I was able to kind of hop away enough that I can call for help and get help from my friends that was with me.
Oh wow! So it just cut the leg off.
It was more like it crushed, I would say, because it wasn't completely off. So it was kind of dangling a little bit, which is kind of graphic to
Right.
like think about. But yeah, it wasn't really like a cut. It was more of like a crush. So it was still kind of hanging on a bit.
So now, obviously, with a traumatic injury like that, people, may have some sadness or upsetness after that, some emotional things. So people that are out there listening, what was your process after having that type of injury?
It was definitely at the early stage. I was definitely like thinking like, oh, what I'm gonna do from here, that type of thing. But I had a lot of great support. People with me, my friends, my family, of course, my mom, grandma, brother, who kind of stuck with me, helped me through that difficult time. And the doctors, the nurses at the time gave me hope with like showing me that there's a depth of sports, there's rehabilitation with getting a prosthetic and being able to walk again and kind of live close to a normal life with a prosthetic. So I had a little bit of hope after I got injured that like if I let this heal, into rehab, get a prosthetic, work hard at it, so I can kind of get back to kind of the normal life that I've had beforehand.
Right. So now, when I don't think you've said it yet, so people know, what was the age range this happened?
It was around 9, 10. I would say, I think it was pretty much like a month or two before my birthday. So you could basically say 10, but it was like 9, 10 area.
Yeah, that's a pretty big adjustment for a 10-year-old to have an injury like that and kind of, start life again. How was going into school? How did you have to deal with that in the school environment?
It was definitely difficult at first, especially, of course, after I got injured, I did homeschool that first little bit because, of course, around my birthday is like February, so that was right in the middle of school time. So I think I injured. I did homeschool for the kind of the rest of the year, and then after that, I worked on getting my leg, worked on rehabilitation and rehab, and then the next following year, I was able to go back to school and attend school on a prosthetic, and it was difficult at first for sure. But like I said, I had a great support network with my friends. They stuck by me. They're able to help me out. And they basically kind of helped with the situation, as in they treated me like kind of nothing really happened, or like it wasn't a big deal, which kind of helped the transition a lot.
Oh, wow. Well, that's pretty cool that your friends were involved in it like that. So now tell me, as you grew up there getting into high school, what about that passion you still have for sports? Did you try to play other sports?
Yeah, definitely tried all types of sport, even after I got my prosthetic. I know in middle school, like eighth grade, I tried middle school football on my prosthetic, which was a lot of fun because I was doing it with my friends, but it was very, very challenging doing it on a prosthetic, running up and down a huge field like that. But I definitely would not have changed it. I would definitely would still have done it, because I can say down the road that I've tried, football before in the past, because it was a great sport. I loved it when I was a kid, so I wanted to at least try it out and see if I could do it. But it just, with the prosthetic, I just couldn't do it long term. So I found basketball, and I was able to find wheelchair basketball in that time to kind of help me keep my athletic performance, athletic um, activity going.
So you were able to locate wheelchair basketball in high school. There were actually leagues out there and places to play.
It wasn't like in the typical high schools. It was a kind of Paralympic Olympic training site down in Birmingham, Alabama, where I live, that had a bunch of adaptive sports that people with disabilities could come and try and take part in. So they had like wheelchair tennis, they had basketball, of course, they had let's see, they had rugby, which is kind of like wheelchair kind of rugby, which is called, I think they had a movie called Murder Ball about it. So they had a bunch of different sports to try. So one Saturday, I went to kind of like a sports mini camp. They did like, I think, once a month for people in the community, and I just tried a bunch of sports. And but I fell in love with basketball. I got in like a chair they had. It just felt natural. And a coach at the time was there, like of the team at the facility, saw me playing around. It's like, yeah, you should definitely play basketball. And then I just got right into it right away. That following, I'm pretty sure like halfway in the season, I picked it up.
Now, I saw that you have made it into the college career as well into basketball. What got you from, or how did you find out, for anybody out there listening, other kids that are interested in playing basketball, what transitioned you from the high school to the college?
It's just getting the word out, especially in the high school. There's not a lot of high school like wheelchair teams in the state of Alabama. So when you're playing, you're actually playing teams from other states. So you kind of get to see more of the US at an early age. You play different teams across the country, like nationals. I think my first year, if I remember correctly, was I can't remember exactly, but it was in a different state. I think maybe Arkansas or something. So you got all these teams across the country and all these other coaches that get to see players from all over the country, and you kind of get the word out of who's coming up. And then they kind of got the eye and ear of some of the college coaches coming up, and my team, high school team at the time, were pretty successful. We were able to win a few high school championships. So that kind of helped my kind of performance as well. Trying to get my word out there to get to a college level. And at the time, I was looking at University of Alabama and University of Illinois for going to college.
Okay, so you said Illinois. I know that's where you ended up playing at. How was it once you made the transition? How was the school there? Was everything accessible, easy for you to get around, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, the school was actually kind of like the founder of like accessibility. Actually, it kind of started there and originated there. So everything was pretty adaptable. Everything was set up that if you needed access to some like resources that you can't get into a building, or you need extra resources in terms of attending a class, all that stuff was already established for years. So it wasn't anything new. So it was just a very established club, very well-known club in wheelchair world. So it just seemed like a very easy choice to go there and play basketball.
And since you said it was the founder of accessibility and all that, I'm assuming the classrooms, the teachers, the everything was very adaptable to the, somebody that needs it.
Yeah, exactly. Like most of the buildings had either a ramp or elevator. There's not that many buildings with stairs and not a ramp. Like everything was wheelchair accessible throughout
So
the campus.
they didn't make it then to where you had to go a mile from one class to the next then.
No, it depends on your degree because certain buildings are kind of spread out a bit. But for the most part, they try to, help you out and make sure that you are prepared as much as possible coming in.
Okay. So make us a transition. Everybody knows we've already announced it that, you were on the USA basketball team, won some gold medals, been in some other tournaments. Make us that transition from college, from Illinois to the USA team. I know they didn't just call you up and put you on the team. How did you get on the USA team?
It started out by making like younger teams. So they had like a under 23 USA team. So I was fortunate enough to make that team when I was only 16, which was kind of pretty high feat to kind of make a team like with a age limit of 23 at 16.
Right.
So getting that experience so young helped me out and get the word out on the USA side. And from there, I, just got better and better because I was able to kind of play against some of the best guys in the world at a younger age. And I saw that and I kind of wanted to be, those top players. So it kind of drove me to kind of be better, make myself better, train harder to get to that level.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Yeah, so I was able to get involved early on.
So now, when you got introduced to that team, and like you said, in trying for that level, how many times did you, if I want to understand the whole story here, how many times did you try to get on that team?
For the U23 team, I got on it twice because I started so early at 16. Right. So I was on it in 2005 and 2009 for the U23 team. So I was able to be on there twice. Then after that, I was like on and off senior teams, or I barely made the cut, or I was like next alternate. So I was always right there for like the senior level team. But I didn't make it consistently until after London, after 2012. And that's when I made it consistently. And that's also when I decided to move overseas and play professionally. And that's when I kind of started more making the senior team consistently.
Okay, so the senior team, if we're looking in the 2012-13 area all the way till right now, is pretty well what you've been on that senior team. And in that process of what you're doing, I think you and I had talked about the other day, there'd been a couple of silver medals and like 6 gold medals, in various competitions. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So, and to give people a little bit idea as well of what, when you say 6 gold medals, I know all of those are not gold medals in, say, the Olympics. What would the other 3 or 4 be in?
It'd be kind of like qualifying tournaments for major tournaments. So it'd be like 2013 was a qualifier for Worlds, which is basically kind of a more mini Paralympic, but only for basketball.
Oh, okay.
So it's like qualifiers. So like qualifiers for Worlds, and then qualifiers for the Paralympics. So those qualifiers, we got goals in Worlds, we got silver, and then Paralympics, we got gold.
Okay, so bringing us all to speed there, what is our current situation on the USA team now? What's next for USA?
Right now, after winning this last one in Tokyo, it's just kind of preparing and looking ahead for Worlds. Like I said, because we have Worlds every 2 years, well, every 4 years, sorry. Um, and then preparing for Worlds that's hosted in Dubai. So we don't know if we're going to have a qualifier for Worlds yet. That's kind of up in the air. They're still kind of deciding on that. So we're just kind of waiting to hear if we're going to have a qualifier to go to Worlds, because should be in November of next year for that. So, and then after that, preparing and getting ready for Paris 2024.
Now, if there is a World of next year, where would that be located?
Dubai.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, all right. So tell us, now you kind of gave us an idea about this USA team and things are going on. People are probably not familiar with the story that you said it earlier, that you're actually in Germany playing professional basketball. Is that set up just like the NBA or WNBA or any basketball league out there? Or are you pretty well a paid player and you play on a team and a league and all that?
It's definitely not like the NBA. I know a lot of players wish it was, but it's not that. It's definitely one of the best places to play professionally and actually, make a decent living or be comfortable enough and still play the sport. But I played 4 years in Italy, and then now this is my 5th year in Germany. So it'd be a total of 9 years playing professional overseas. So it's definitely, a great atmosphere in terms of preparing yourself to kind of make that next level of being an elite athlete for your country, and being able to play against and play with some of the best players across the world. And it's just amazing time. I do hope that everyone take the opportunity to come overseas, because it's the best place I feel like once you get out of college and you want to make that next step of making national teams is to play professionally.
Wow. Well, and it is pretty cool that Germany, Italy, some of those places have professional wheelchair teams, because unless I'm really missing something here, the United States does not have that program, right?
No, they do not. It's kind of, I know, like we're so heavy on like sports, like we're like such a sports like mecca country that we have all these different sports across the country. It just wheelchair basketball or most of the wheelchair like sports don't have as much coverage or don't have as much sponsors, because we have all these other competing sports, like NBA, the NHL, the baseball league, all these other high level sports. And it's kind of hard to kind of get, sponsors, because they're already tied into all these other things. So just a lot of competing things. Like in Europe, the only like competing sports in Europe are like 2, maybe 3 other sports. But like in the US, it's like 10 or even more.
Right.
So there's more opportunities for some of these clubs to get sponsors and to be more professional.
Okay, so take people that are listening into that world there. When you say coverage, how, if us in the United States want to be a fan of yours, how do we see your game? Are they live on the internet somewhere? Is there a way to contact you, a website?
Yeah, mostly through most clubs. They have like their own website, and then they have like a live stream like link that you can watch games. And usually through that club's website, you can literally just click on a link and watch live games. So I played for RSV Lundale. So if you go to their page, rsvlundale.com, you can find links to each game and be able to watch each game.
Say that for me one more time, maybe even spell it out so people will know exactly. That's what.com?
It's RSV Lundale. So it'd be RSV and then LAHN dash DILL.com.
Okay. That's kind of a little better way for everybody out there listening to be able to tune in and watch some of his games. And on that website you have there, I'm assuming it has schedules and everything and when you play, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So you told us that you're making a living over there in Germany, playing basketball, having a great time, following your passions. tell a little bit for everybody out there listening. What's the family life like? Do you have a wife, have children? What's going on there?
Yes, I have a wife. I have actually 5 kids. I know I look young,
Huh.
but yeah, I have 5 kids. They definitely keep me busy. Me and my wife got married in college when she was um, getting done with her master's. And we also had our first kid around that time. And then after she got done with her master's, we decided to move overseas together to Italy to play professionally so I can pursue my professional career
Okay.
and make the national team. And then from there, we had 4 other kids, one born in Italy, one born in the third one born in the States, and then the fourth and fifth born in Germany.
Oh, wow.
And then they're kind of my rock. They especially being over in a different country, not exactly knowing the language. So they're kind of my kind of rock away from practice, away from games, to kind of decompress, to kind of not necessarily focus on the basketball side of it and to kind of get back to kind of more of a normal life.
Okay. So that's pretty cool to know that you got all that going on as well, a great support staff. Get us for a second outside of basketball and life here. Do you have any hobbies that people be interested in knowing?
Yeah, for the longest, I dabble in like drawing and the art side. So every now and then I'll kind of get like an artistic bug and like decide I want to just draw something. Or most of like birthday or celebratory cards like I give people, I usually create by hand or draw by hand and give it to them. It's just kind of my thing because when I was a kid, I used to draw all the time, different like cartoons or different doodles here and there. Just as I grew up older, basketball and other things took more time away from more of my artistic and more hobby side. But I like to read. I like to also game a little bit when I have the chance to game with having kids and stuff and being a professional athlete.
Okay. Well, now tell us another thing we enjoy in our podcast is people kind of want to know a little bit of lighter side of our guests here. And can you tell us a funny story that people may be interested in?
Yeah, definitely. I have one. It's back when I was that's kind of starting off in basketball. I used to go to a lot of like summer camps for wheelchair basketball players coming up to kind of get more and more experience. So it's a bunch of basically like a summer mini camp, and you get to meet and hang out with basketball players across the country that you've maybe competed against or maybe played with. So one of the times during the camp, I think towards the end of the camp, I like at the time I joked around, kind of considered like a funny guy playing jokes and stuff. So I decided to play a joke on someone coming down or coming or wanting to use the elevator. So I was on my floor of the elevator, decided to push a button, take off my prosthetic, and then just leave it in the corner of the elevator, and then push the bottom floor button, and let it go all the way down. And then I had like people stationed down in the lobby or friends or whatever, and then to get the reaction of whoever came in. So it was unfortunately it was an older lady that was coming onto the elevator, and she like screamed when she saw like the leg because at the time my leg was mainly pretty lifelike. So it's like my skin tone. If at first glance you can't tell that it's a fake leg, that type of thing. So she like almost had a heart attack, which I felt really bad at the time because I didn't realize it was an older person. But at the time, she also thought it was funny, so I was glad with that as well. But I do like to joke around and play jokes on friends and stuff like that as well.
Well, that is a pretty funny story because I mean, you are hoping that it got set up to where some young person would see it and really be laughing, but it is kind of even funnier that she saw it, to make it go that way. And it's great to know that you got a lighter side too, because a lot of times people look at professional athletes being so focused and they don't really have a lot of fun and, let their walls down a little bit. So I think that's pretty fun as well. Now, tell me, if I go back to the USA team for just a minute, what was it like? And if I remember correctly, it's Tokyo that you guys just won in, right? Give us a visual for people out there listening. Give us what it was like in this COVID pandemic craziness world about going through that in Tokyo trying to play basketball. Were there a lot of regulations, a lot of masks, a lot of whatevers?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of regulations, a lot of stuff set in place to kind of basically support and keep us safe. But it also was hard because it was very restricting. You felt very isolating, kind of trapped, especially in the village, because you can only go like be in the village and go to your competition videos and back. You couldn't like leave the village. You couldn't see the city, which kind of sad for me personally because Tokyo was kind of one of the cities I've always wanted to visit since I was a little kid. So it was just kind of hard to kind of be on a bus and go through the city, but not be able to actually like go out and actually like experience the city. Um, but again, all the regulations, all the restrictions they had in place was to keep the athletes safe, to make sure that they had the the best and, the safest competition environments possible. So I do appreciate them for doing that. Um, yeah, it was just at times just very isolating, just being stuck in your room, not doing being able to do much. You had to wear a mask pretty much everywhere. Of course, hand sanitizing, just yeah, all the normal regulation type things that you have to do, just basically doing it all the time
Right.
in the village at Tokyo.
Wow. So it would make it a little, I guess in one way, because I understand athletic events a lot, in one way it made it a little bit tougher because you didn't go out to, get to have a little bit of fun and get outside and do other things. But then again, if you're a really focused team when you got there, this may have made you even more focused where you could spend more time studying film and watching other teams.
Yeah, it definitely did that. Like we hung out more, together because a lot of us know other players from other teams. So, we like to hang out with them, in the past, but during the pandemic, they wanted us to do that less. So you can definitely wave at people or say hi, but they didn't want us, spending long periods of time hanging out with other teams.
I got you.
So, but it also helped us, become a lot closer. We are already a close team as it is, but it made us definitely closer. We were able to kind of focus more on us. And I feel like overall they helped us get the job done in the end.
That's pretty cool of them to be able to go that extra mile, to kind of help make those games happen because they could have very easily said, because of what we're going through, we're going to cancel everything.
Oh, definitely. We definitely at a point, like once they postponed it first initially, and then they decided that, oh, maybe we'll just, wait a year and see how everything is and then do it again. And then as it was leading up, we all thought it might cancel again, but they were able to, stick to their promise of hosting it. And they did a fabulous job, I think, of making sure that everything was run smoothly.
Well, all right. So here we are to our signature question in our podcast that we ask everybody that comes on here. If something were to happen to you tomorrow and we were reading the book of Brian, what would you hope people read in that book when it's all over with? What would you hope to have accomplished in your life?
Definitely overall, just being a great Christian, being a great family person, caring father, being hopefully a great athlete, being a great person on and off the court or field of play, just being a great role model for my kids, for the next generation of people, and just being the overall, good human being to others, just giving to people the respect they deserve as much as you want them to give to you.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that sounds pretty good. So tell me one more time before we get this thing wrapped up. Give us the website again, spelling it out so people can be able to come and support and watch what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. So it's www.rsvlandale.com. So that'd be RSVLAHN dash DILL.com.
All right, folks, you're not going to hear a better story than this one right here about this guy overcoming some of the things he grew up in to start with, having an accident, still turning it around and making something great out there. And he continues to inspire people as he goes along with his story here. And we hope, Brian, that you'll be able to come back with us one day and kind of give us an update on what you're doing and maybe do a future podcast with us.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me, Joe. Appreciate it.
You are quite welcome. Well, guys, that'll bring us to the end of the podcast. If you can, get out there and hit that subscribe button to make sure you get updates on more of our events that we got going on. Also, check us out, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that fun stuff, social media out there. We're Amazon Music, Podbean, Apple Podcast, all your great sources to be able to pick up Rolling with My Special Friends. Get out there and check us out. Thank you, guys, for listening in.